Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. A voice you may not have heard for a while. I'm Varun and I'm back after almost, I think, 3 or 4 weeks. It's just, what to do between all the work and the holidaying and the matches finishing at odd timings.
Yeah, see, we were making excuses about the matches for you, saying, oh, they ended after you're asleep, so DJ, I have to record. Now you've come out and said it's working at holiday.
I mean, I don't think DJ makes any excuses. You might be on my side, but
I was trying.
So it's great to be back, man. Excited. How are you doing, Ashwin?
Man, busy week of cricket. There's 2 test matches on right now. There was 3 at one point earlier the last week or so. England, West Indies is in my time zone, so I can have it on in the background most of the day. Australia, Pakistan's not easy to watch. India, Sri Lanka is half decent. And then, of course, the Women's World Cup is on a game every day. And those are pretty good time zone for me. So just overwhelmed with cricket. It's been great.
Yeah, and I'm sad to have missed the last one because I know you guys talked a lot about Shane Warne and, tribute to Warne and what a great cricketer, athlete, individual, entertainer he was. And yeah, I didn't get to say much, but I know DJ alluded to the fact. I just wanted to say 2 things. One, yeah, because he was great, all the batsmen were great, right? It's because of him that a lot of people had to work hard and get on top of their game. And the other thing I would say is, I remember, I think 97, 98, 99, around that time, there was a home series. I wish DJ was on for the memory. But first time I remember thinking that we going into a home series where we might be the underdogs because they have a better spinner than us, right? So for Shane Warne to do that is just unbelievable. And yeah, I mean, I remember the newspapers used to talk a lot about him. They captured almost every delivery he used to do. And what a player and great memories he's left back. I've been watching Instagram a lot and seeing all sorts of wickets that he's taken. It's just magnificent. So that's my 1 minute on Shane Warne because I missed it last week. But as Ashwin mentioned, there's a lot of cricket going on. And today we're actually recording in 2 parts. So the first half is going to be me and Ashwin. And the second half, we've got a very interesting guest. DJ is interviewing the founder of SmartCricket.com. It's very, very interesting. I know he personally plays cricket and is very excited about their product. And stay tuned because at the end of the show, there is a giveaway and a contest, right? So you guys could win an interesting prize. So with that, let's first talk about the Women's World Cup, Ashwin. I know you've been following it and watching some of the games. As it stands, I think tournament is not even probably halfway done, if I'm correct. Right now, the rankings on the table are that Australia are number 1. They've played 3 and won 3. Of course, expected, right? Waiting for that upset to happen. But India has done very well. They've played 3-1-2 and have a very positive net run rate of 1.33, second on the table. South Africa, New Zealand, all just kind of below on run rate, but everyone's on 4 points, including the West Indies. England, Bangladesh, and Pakistan yet to open their account. But overall, very interesting. Feels like the first top 5 are breaking away from the rest. Ashwin, walk us through a little bit of the India women's team. How have they been performing? Don't want to run through match by match, but overall a summary.
Yeah, it's been interesting, right? You can look at the points table and say played 3-1-2 and say, great, pretty good start, right? The loss was against the New Zealanders, who we just finished playing 5 ODIs against and only won 1 right at the end. So you could argue there was an expected loss. But there's such a big, interesting seesaw between those first couple of games and that last one, right? The first one against the Pakistan women, weird batting kind of lineup, right? Shafali Verma got out early, great second wicket partnership, and then just kind of fell apart, weren't able to accelerate. You had a couple of people, Mithali was 9 of 36, Harman was 5 of 14, just not able to accelerate.
They got a lot of flack for that, right?
They did, but then it got kind of offset by his phenomenal, I guess it was a 7th wicket partnership, between Pooja Vastrakar, who made 67 of 59, and Sneha Rana 53 of 48. And of course, 244 is a good score. It's not a great score, but it's not a bad score. It's a good score. And the bowlers came to the party and ended up winning by a huge margin. 4 wickets for Gaikwad, who's just been in absolutely stellar form for feels like the last 2 years now. And so it got a little bit ignored, right, if you will. Then came the chase. So very different. You're batting first against Pakistan, chasing against New Zealand. Pretty good bowling spell, right? Lost our way a little in the middle over. This time, Pooja Vastrakar with the ball was showing up, picked up 4 wickets. Gaikwad had a good spell again as well, if I remember correctly. And 260 for the New Zealand women, which is not, again, a middle of the road score. It's a good score. Let's be clear. It's a good score. But just weren't able to accelerate at all. So this is the match where there was a lot of flack in our inability to chase, because at one point it looked reasonably doable. First off, I think in the power play, absolutely no real acceleration, 10 runs from the power play, I think it was. Then a little bit of a pickup, and then just still not really giving our lower and middle order, who've been in great form, not really giving them enough to work with. And so to end up at 198 when you're chasing 260 was just not good enough. And I'll share a couple of things that got the flack, right? Skipper Mithali, obviously in the news a lot, 55 strike rate. Yastika Bhatia, 47 strike rate, and played almost 60 balls. Smriti only made 6 of 21. So a lot of discussion about the approach and saying when you're chasing 260, and again, let's give credit to Hayley Jensen and Amelia Kerr, and who bowled well and have understood how to play this Indian women's lineup. So they finished that going 1-1, right? One batting first, lost chasing, but not just lost chasing, but showing lack of intent, etc. And then came the unbelievable game that was on a Friday. So I was able to have most of it on. It's just phenomenal. 2 centurions from Team India, right? Like the stalwarts
both at above 100 strike rate.
Both at above 100 strike rate. And not just like started really slow and picked up later, both close to kind of 80 to 100 till they got to that century and then accelerated. Smriti made 123, Harman made 109. It was just so great to see, right? They ended up putting on a almost 200 run partnership. I think it was 190 or so, and got to 317 for 8. And it was a clear signal of intent. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Yastika Bhatia, who batted at the strike rate of 55, came out, only made 31 runs, but made it off 21 balls. And there was an over early on where she had 3 boundaries back to back and absolutely just got off, like set the pace for the innings. And so 317, West Indies got off to a flyer, by the way. I was watching the early parts of the chase. They were 90 odd in 10 overs, almost 100 in 10 overs. I was starting to get nervous, but again, the bowlers stepped up to the plate. This time the quicks, Julan and Meghna bowled pretty well, and then Sneh Rana. So the bowlers have been everybody's been contributing. With the bat, Harman, we've been reliant on Harman, and Smriti starting to show up. So it's going to be so interesting. I think where we are in the tournament, last week's episode, I said, Varun, you always make the joke. The IPL is about which of the 7 teams, now 9 teams, I guess, is going to face off against CSK in the final. Very clearly, and you said this in the scorecard, this is about which of the remaining 7 teams is going to face Australia in the final. So you're battling for second place. Australia is like leaps and bounds above everybody else. But I can't help but be hopeful after that phenomenal 300 plus run score against the West Indies. We play England next, who've looked out of sorts. Then is the Australia game, which is not going to be great. But then you have to believe they'll come strong against Bangladesh. And so it will likely, for me, come down to that final match of the group stages, which is India, South Africa. Both teams looking pretty good. And it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top.
Very nice. So remember that the team in yellow in the IPL always makes it to the final, but it's the team in blue that has the most number of trophies. So
there you go. Well said. I thought you were going to compare CSK to Australia. Well said.
So you never know what will happen. Let's hope the India women's team makes it to the final and wins the World Cup. That would just be phenomenal. So we'll keep you updated. I think by the time we record the next episode, the World Cup will still be going on. Now, at the time of recording, we had to take a strategic call. We said that it's important that we maintain that consistency and try to get as many episodes out there on a Monday. We took a strategic call. We said the match is going to be only halfway through, not even halfway through at the time on which we record this, which is Sunday night, and the match is still going on. We have a very weird match on our hands. The match, as it stands, is that Sri Lanka now need 447 runs to win. Day 2 has not ended. We have seen the fastest 50 in Indian Test cricket. We have seen a declaration. We have seen a fifer by a pace bowler on a spinning track, and we've seen spinners coming in the second over. Ashwin, before we get into this,
and just to wrap up that list, the most ever wickets on day 1 of a pink ball test with 16 wickets.
Interesting. So what do you make of it? Like, what is happening? Okay, let me rephrase this very carefully. Why are matches in India finishing so quickly?
Yeah, it's a good question and good rephrasing, because I can tell you're about to target the opposition instead. But man, I don't know, right? Like there was a tweet that I don't remember who it was, so apologies for not giving credit, but that basically said, you know, when there's a good match, we always say this is a great advert for Test cricket. There was a tweet that said all 3 games this week are a great advert for other sports, right? Australia, Pakistan, nobody can seem to get a wicket. It's an absolute road in the first Test match, absolute road in the second. Australia have just batted 2 full days and are still going. India, Sri Lanka, 16 wickets got in the first day. First day of play, Kohli's getting balls that absolutely like don't bounce short of a length and don't get any rise and just end up hitting him LBW. He got out both innings like that. So yeah, it's disappointing, right? Like we joke about it a little bit. When England comes here and they lose in 2 or 3 days, it's always about the pitch. And when India goes to Australia and you know, or I guess maybe not Australia, but different conditions, there's always different double standards. And I've been pretty clear and vocal about it. But it's probably not good enough that the pitch doesn't allow you to have a test survive even 4 days, right? This one would likely be done early in the third based on how Sri Lanka's batsmen have been faring. So, I mean, there's an element of our spinners know how to exploit the condition. There's no question about that. They've just bowled great. There's an element of Sri Lanka is a bottom-rated test side right now in the world, while India's at the top and arguably playing full strength, right? Like, especially with our bowlers we are. So, I don't know. I mean, if on the one hand, if Bumrah could take 5 on that pitch, then the Sri Lankan quicks were bowling on the same wicket. On the other hand, you want both teams to have a little more of a chance for it to be an even battle with bat and ball. So.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. It's been an interesting series so far. Let's start running through the innings, right, for our listeners. So Rohit Sharma won the toss, elected to bat, and of course announced Akshar Patel. Now, the minute Akshar Patel is playing, the game is going to wrap up in 2 days. And I predicted he's going to take 12 wickets in this test match. And at the time of recording, I could be right. If I want to say I could be right.
You can't. He only took 1 in the first.
So he still has a possibility to take 11 wickets in this test match.
But test cricket is easy for Akshar Patel.
Yeah, exactly. He's picked up some 36 wickets in 3 matches or something ridiculous like that. So Mayank and Rohit come out to bat. Mayank gets run out of a ridiculous delivery. It kind of hits his pad. Everyone goes up for a review. The TV screen, when I was watching it, you can't see what's happening on Rohit's side of the screen, but Mayank suddenly starts going down the pitch, is caught in the middle. The wicket keeper is asking for a review before he gets him run out, ultimately gets him run out. It's then called a no ball. So a very bizarre start.
Yeah, it's such an interesting one. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but what happens there when while the ball is in alive, quote unquote, and there's an appeal happening and stuff, like, should the ball be signaled dead? I mean, it was the right decision. It was the right run out, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought of the same thing. So clearly it's not a dead ball. Yeah. The game has to continue. But yeah, it definitely causes confusion. I don't know why, like the wicketkeeper kept telling them we want the review before the run out. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, it turned out to be a no ball. So it's all very confusing to me. But I agree. Like, I mean, I think if it's a review, there probably needs to be some clarity around what happens.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and then so after Man gets out, Rohit gets out quite soon. He's hanging his bat out in the 9th over, and a spinner has got him out as if it was day 5. And I was looking, and yeah, I think the bowler was Ambar Saria or something, right?
But I don't even have a good reaction to that.
Yeah, so
it was emboldened. In my head, I keep making jokes about how the Sri Lanka team have become emboldened by his presence.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, that's a more classy joke.
That's the difference between your and my humor.
Yeah, pretty much. That sums it up. And then you had Hanuma Vihari come out at 3, who all of us are very happy to see he belongs there. Ashwin is still laughing about that joke, but
it was so bad. It was so bad. All right.
So Vihari has come in. I mean, okay, before the series, a lot of us were hoping he would play. I think personally, all 3 of us were hoping he would take Pujara's position. And that's exactly what happened. And remember, he's floated a lot in this batting order, depending on what India wants. So he come in, played a very number 3 innings of India that we are used to for the last, I would say, 25 years. Strike rate of 38, faced 81 balls, did a lot of the hard work, but ultimately got out. And Kohli came in, was looking good, did again the hard work. But now what is happening? Firstly, Ashwin, that delivery, the bounce, Secondly, every time he gets out, is he now going to just stare like that? Is that now just going to happen every innings?
I mean,
Like
you
a
have to.
confused look down the pitch, doesn't want to walk off.
I mean, probably, let's be honest. Like, I don't want to. The only thing I'll say in this one, I think, is if we are all awaiting number 71 and for him to, first century in, I guess, 4+ years now and all that, you can't imagine how much he's waiting for it, right? Or how much it means to him. So when he gets out and looks in disbelief, like some of it, everybody just reacts to situations differently. Some of it in this case was disbelief that the ball just didn't get up from a back of a length. But yeah, it's obviously just how hard he's working, how much it means to him to get that century, that the fact that it evades him is probably hurting him more than anybody else, even though all of us are pretty hurt by it. So that's all I think I can say.
Yeah. And I mean, talking about that bounce and pitch, yeah, I mean, I was shocked, man. I was like, I know day 5 pitches are entertaining, but that doesn't mean you start off with a day 5 pitch. Again, I don't know what Bangalore pitches have historically been like, but I don't remember seeing this before. It's a bit odd for me. And when you think about the overall innings, I think spinners took 8 out of the 9 wickets that were taken, non-run out included. So it's a bit crazy, but it's interesting that the middle order quickly figured out that you're going to get balls that keep low and you're going to get balls that kind of jump off the surface. And so two guys who are very familiar of batting together came together and essentially said, we need to go at about a run a ball, if not more. And there you had it, right? Rishabh Pant came in 39 of 26 in the first innings and Shreyas Iyer 92 of 98. Both did extremely well because, like I said, that game awareness to figure out that we need to get that. So kudos to them. I think Shreyas Iyer, Ashwin, at number 5 at home in India. Do you think we are going towards kind of Sky being the limited overs and Shreyas Iyer being the test kind of secure place in the team?
I mean, I think if we're not after the way Shreyas has played both innings in this match, then it's unbelievably unfair, right? Like you've replaced a number 5 who is completely out of form, barring maybe one match in Australia, hasn't played anything of substance in the last couple of years, and replaced him with a guy who's just can't seem to find a bad patch yet. Of course, form will come and go, but Iyer has shown he's a class player, and having him, not trying to force fit our good players into the top 3 or 4, having somebody at 5 completely changes the complexion of our innings because we're no longer over reliant on the top 3. So I think I'm a huge fan of the decision.
Yeah, same here. Awesome. I mean, he's done extremely well in India. Let's hope he gets some time overseas as well, because I think he deserves it. Nothing else to talk about in the evening batting lineup except the delivery that got Jadeja, man. Like that bounced off the surface and clipped his glove. It's like he had no idea that was coming. So between seeing Kohli's delivery and that delivery, you almost kind of had to just really find a way to be tentative yet score runs. And that's what our middle order did. So we ended up at 252 all out in under 60 overs. Sri Lanka then comes in and their top 3 get 2, 4, and 8. Barring Matthews, it was a pretty dismal performance. I mean, at the end of day's play yesterday, we had 6 wickets. And when we came on this morning, I think honestly, within 35 minutes, we had wrapped up the game. Bumrah, Ashwin, on a track where the spinners are doing everything, how did Bumrah take 5 and Akshar Patel take only 1? Does this make any sense to you?
I mean, Akshar Patel only got 5 overs by the end of it because the whole innings only lasted 35. But Bumrah just looked great, and no spoilers. I can't tell if you have another screen going on the side of recording this, but for the listeners, when we record this, the Sri Lankan 4th innings has just started, and they're currently 0 for 1, and Bumrah bowled a beautiful delivery in the block hole. So, I mean, there's a small chance I think this is over by the end of today, but probably not. They'll probably survive out. But anyway, Bumrah's just been unbelievable, right? It's just great to see how he's evolved into a bowler with not just the block hole delivery that got him, the recognition, etc. early on, but he's got a great bouncer, he's got a great away swinger. He's just laying traps for these batsmen and they're falling right into it. So he's almost taken the pitch completely out of it and just bowling great balls with a pink ball that favors the seamers, as you think it should for the Sri Lankan seamers, and has made the most of it. So kudos to him.
Yeah, and Bumrah's first 5-wicket haul in tests in India. So well done to him. Great innings overall for India bowling-wise. We saw a typical Shami bowled, right? Karunaratne, the captain, opening batsman. You saw beautiful bowled by Shami, which I just love seeing. And then to top it off, you also had Ashwin, who I think took 2 wickets of 2 leg spinning deliveries, which almost felt like a tribute to Shane Warne, but it was really well done. Like it was super. So the only thing that happened with Sri Lanka's innings is that India hadn't put enough to put them into bat again, right?
Follow on, yeah.
Yeah.
And at one point it looked like they might. I think at 14 for 3, like maybe they'll get out for less than 40 for 52, but it didn't.
Exactly. So in a way, it's good because I don't know how many tests we're playing after this between now and the T20 World Cup. I don't know the India schedule, but I really, beyond that one test in England, I don't see that much test cricket. So in a way, good for India. Get out there, get runs under your belt. You've got a lot of new guys like Vihari and Iyer in the team. So great batting opportunity. India now in the second innings on day 2, remember, which should be good for batting, has made 303 and they actually declared. So Mayank Agarwal and Rohit, again, good opening partnership, 22 and 46. I think Rohit was playing really well. He was playing attacking cricket, yet sensible. But then, as always, and he said this, so no fault of his own, he is going to go for that big shot, whether he's on 0 or 46. And this time he was on 46. So he ended up getting caught out in the deep by Matthews. Hanuma Vihari again played almost an exactly similar innings as the first innings. And I mean, kudos to him, man. Like he's coming in on a tough wicket and is doing well. Kohli didn't get another delivery that bounced like that, but did get a delivery that may not have bounced according to his liking. And with LBW advised by Pant on the other end to not take the review. For Pant's sake, I was praying that it is actually out because you don't tell Kohli not to take the review. Maybe you do now that he's not captain. I don't know. But then in came Pant, and Ashwin, talk us through this a little bit, right? I unfortunately only saw half of his innings, but 50 of 28, the fastest 50 by an Indian in Test cricket, the fastest by a wicketkeeper overall in Test cricket, and the fastest by any player in a day-night match. And mind you, Shardul had just got it in 31 balls last year. So yeah, talk me through Pant's innings a little bit.
Aside from me being very happy that the record now sits with Rishabh Pant and not with Shardul Thakur. You know, what is interesting is as you were going down the first innings too, we didn't really talk it, but Rishabh Pant was arguably the difference maker even there. He only made 39 of 26, but 7 boundaries. And exactly to your point, right? Like just changed the complexion of the innings. Same thing here, right? When he walked in, it was 116 for 3 in about 33 overs, right? Rohit had already started hitting. Mayank was hitting a little bit quick, but I didn't get a chance to watch most of it. I'm excited to watch the highlights because it was middle of the morning, my time, 3 in the morning or so. But gosh, just such a delight to see him, man. 50 off 31. He gets to the 50 and gets out, and that's fine. You're by the time he's done, the match is basically already out of reach for Sri Lanka, right? Unless you have a one-off crazy type of fourth innings chase, which again doesn't look likely right now. He took the match away. So just great use of his feet. You know, again, somebody posted somewhere that like Rishabh Pant is doing what we all dreamed we could do when we played gully cricket as kids, except he has the chops to do it at the highest levels of the game anywhere in the world. And it's just unbelievable. He's just taking these guys to the cleaners. So just what a sight.
Yeah, and he's backing himself in his home pitches, right? Like, yes, some may look like careless, reckless shots, but he knows these pitches. He knows the bowling. He is backing himself, and maybe 1 or 2 careless shots across both innings, but otherwise beautiful boundaries and sixes too, man, in Test cricket. I read a tweet that said there should now be an entertainment tax every time he walks out to bat, because
that's awesome.
That's like what everyone. Yeah, that's what everyone does, right? Everyone stops what they're doing. Time stands still. You may be entertained for 2 minutes. You could be entertained for 2 hours. Nobody knows. But you're guaranteed entertainment, right? That's the
thing I was interested in that I wanted to say. And like, if you think about Hanuma coming in at 3 and Pant at 5, ahead of Shreyas, actually. I said Shreyas at 5, but both innings he came in at 6. Like in the first innings combined, I'm not the partnership, but just the collective scores, Vihari and Pant made 70 runs off 107 balls. And in the second innings, they made 85 off 110 balls, right? So very healthy combined strike rate. So maybe there's an element of them saying, hey, let Vihari grind it out and play that Pujara-esque role and let Pant get the runs. It's not going to work everywhere. It's not going to work every time. But it's an interesting type of dynamic to have such contrasting players at 3 and 5, whereas historically our 3 and 5 were Pujara and Rahane, who were more similar. So it's just an interesting approach.
And don't forget that we've seen Pujara and Pant bat a lot in the last 18 months or so.
True.
And that's been great because one guy is blocking the end, tiring the bowlers. The other guy is then unleashing the bowlers. So I think it's actually great strategy. And India is showing that intent at by putting Pant at number 5, right? I wouldn't be surprised if that is his batting order with a solid, proper batsman to come. So it kind of gives you that little bit of an insurance policy. And when I say solid batsman, I mean Iyer and Jadeja. Okay, I don't just.
I was going to say Iyer, Jadeja, Ashwin, Akshar. Like, how crazy is that after Pant?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So it gives him a little bit more freedom, less pressure. He knows that there's 4 wickets even after him that can all bat. It's a pretty good setup in my eyes. And then Shreyas Iyer again, man, he comes out there and just turns the screws, right? Pant has done the damage. He's continued the momentum and he's basically taken this game away from Sri Lanka because Sri Lanka now needed 447 to win. They're already 1 down. And so for all purposes, this match is done, guys. Like, we are recording before it's finished, but there's 30 minutes to go today in the day's place. I think it'll be over tomorrow. Let's be realistic on day 3. But Ashwin, who would you give your man of the match to in this match if you had to make that judgment?
Yeah, I think a little of it depends on how much Bumrah contributes to India's bowling in the second innings. But as of now, Shreyas, right? Rishabh played an important role, but Shreyas got the extra runs that helped make the difference. Unlucky to miss out on a century, but I think he was the key difference maker for this test.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, India is going to win by more than the number of runs that Iyer scored, right? So it's an interesting one because
that's a good point.
I would think Pant changed the game in both innings. And I remember very clearly in 2017, 2018 in South Africa, AB de Villiers did the same thing. Everyone else was crumbling and his 50s won them the test series. So for me, it would be Pant, but yes, depending how many wickets Bumrah takes.
And as you wrap that up, I will say quickly, when Smriti got the player of the match award for making her century, as she got up there, she said a great moment where she called Harman up, I want to share this with Harman, and hopefully the BCCI has enough budget to get a second medal rate, which is a nice little jab. But I think same thing, right? Like, Shreyas Iyer's innings would have been meaningless without Pant, and Pant's innings likely wouldn't have meant that much without Iyer consolidating. So just kudos to both of them.
Absolutely. The KKR captain and the DC captain. IPL is just a couple of weeks away, guys. This is the best time of the season for us. We know you love watching. We know you love listening. Stay tuned. We'll probably do a proper preview of the IPL next week after this test match is done. For now, stay tuned to the second half of the show. After the break, like we mentioned, DJ speaks to a very interesting guest, and there is a big contest giveaway.
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On the Filter Coffee Podcast, Karthik speaks to 3 independent filmmakers, Guneet Monga, Sophia Paul, and Ashwin Iyer Tiwari. They dive into a conversation that is full of anecdotes, different visions, and films. Our new show, Voices for Water, hosted by Karthik Nagarajan, discusses India's Great Water Challenge. It examines the current state of availability of water in India and how we as citizens can do our bit to tackle this challenge. On the Paisa Vaisa podcast, Anupam is joined by Binal Gandhi and Sonira Sangvi, co-authors of Piggy Bank to Portfolio, How to Raise Financially Smart Kids. They talk about the reason behind writing this book and their research findings with more than 500 parents. On the Edges and Sledges Cricket podcast, Ashwin and DJ talk about the untimely demise of cricket legend Shane Warne. They also cover the India vs Sri Lanka series. On the Life Manifesto, Zarina highlights things she wishes that we were taught when we were younger, especially for women. And on All Things Policy, Megha talks to Arjun to discuss the recent tests conducted by the DRDO and how militaries around the world are embracing quantum. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you enjoyed this show or any of our shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth really does help us. And also, please, a rating if you could. That is also extremely helpful to us. And remember, we're also on YouTube. You can check out ivmpodcast.com/YouTube to get a list of the different channels that we operate on YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, SBI Life Insurance, Bank of Baroda, India Water Portal, and Max Life Insurance. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back from that break, and you're still listening to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. And we have a very special guest in this segment of the podcast. I am joined by Mr. Atul Srivastava. He is the founder of SmartCricket.com. He's got more than 15 years of experience in the world of cricket. He's got a bunch of anecdotes to tell us about. Atul sir, welcome to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
No, it's a pleasure, and I'm really looking forward to the next 30 minutes or so where we discuss everything from Virat Kohli to bat sensing technology. But for our listeners who don't know much about you, can you give us a little bit of an introduction about how you got into cricket, what you've done in cricket, and what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So I've done, I've been in cricket sports from 2015 onwards, and if you come to our office, you will realize that for 24 hours we are only in cricket and we don't do any other thing other than cricket. 2015 onwards, it has been a journey. Within cricket, we have done the following over the years. The biggest we started with was player management, and in player management we managed these players: Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, Parthiv Patel, Veda Krishnamurthy, Ashwin, Manish Pandey, Karun Nair, Umesh Yadav, Parthiv Patel, Praveen Kumar, Mandeep Singh, Mayank Agarwal, Akshar Patel, Sanju Samson, Abhinav Mukund, Dhaval Kulkarni, Stuart Binney, and many more. So we stopped actively managing players from 2018-19 onwards. We still help players as and when required, and they require help. Other than player management, we did sponsorship sales for players, for leagues, for IPL teams, ICC, different boards. We did brand consultancy where we help brands identify players as per their brand fit and as per their budgets. League formation. So I'm part of the inception team of two leagues, Bangladesh Premier League and the Pakistan Super League. I have personally helped them to create these leagues from a very initial stage. I've done product distribution for Grey Nichols equipments, Masuri helmets. We've done ICNC licensing and merchandising. We had rights for Indian subcontinent, UAE and US. And obviously we created the first smart bat in the world, and we are in the process of creating smart shoes, smart t-shirts, smart pads, smart gloves, smart helmets, smart stumps, everything. So I have studied computer science and have done MBA in finance, have worked in different corporations, ITC Limited, HDFC, Tata, Birla, and also in the Indian Army. I was a VP in Tata AG when I left my job and started player management business and created Games Unlimited. The first player I signed was Mr Srivastava, who was the under-19 captain at that point of time. And the second player was Virat Kohli. Third was Ajinkya Rahane. Fourth was Ashwin. And fifth was Parthiv Patel. That's when I started the cricket journey in my life. And I went on to sign 30 players. 23 of them played for India. So I had quite a record of signing players and the players finally making debut for India.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. I mean, obviously you've designed and created the first ever smart bat, which was used in the ICC Champions Trophy in 2017. You are in the process of creating a bunch of smart things. I think if you could create a smart cricketer to use all of these things, that would be the ultimate. But let's talk about that top five. So you said Tanmay Srivastava, Virat Kohli, Ajinkya Rahane, Ravichandran Ashwin, and Parthiv Patel. That's a pretty decent top five. I mean, Tanmay, I don't think went on to play for the senior India side, but your second protege, let's say, has just completed his 100th Test match. He's playing his 101st Test match in Bangalore. Shortly after this podcast will release, that Test match will conclude. And Ravichandran Ashwin has just gone past Kapil Dev to become India's second highest wicket taker in the history of the game. He's now behind Dale Steyn. I think he's got 439 Test wickets. Obviously, Ajinkya Rahane has had a successful career. He's not in the side right now, but he obviously led India to the 2-1 victory that we had in Australia earlier on in 2021. Let's talk about managing Virat Kohli. So you signed him as a under-19 player or just after the World Cup? How did you because I think he's now managed by his friend Bunty Sajde.
Yeah.
But you obviously had Virat Kohli's. You were his manager before that. So tell us how that happened.
Yeah. So I think Virat was a star from day one. I signed him in 2006, uh, and he was still, not even in the Ranji Trophy team. He was just about there in the, you know. I remember the first day when I went to meet him. Uh, he was playing in a West Delhi cricket academy, and I went and saw him. The moment he saw me, he started hitting sixes all around the park, and he was uh, every bowler who bowled to him for those 10-15 minutes was tonged all across. And he came out, and his coach, Mr. Rajkumar Sharma, was with me, and he came out and told his coach, "Sir, how are the sixes?" So his coach said, "I know you were trying to impress whom." So that is when we sat for coffee. I went to his house, um, and we signed a long term contract. He was with me till 2011, till after the World Cup. So I've been through his journey from a budding cricketer who had, I mean, a good bat. When he used to actually hug me, and he used to be very, very happy looking at a new bat. So from there till the time he made his first century in Bangladesh, and obviously winning the World Cup. So Virat, uh, you know, was always a guy. Uh, he was always flamboyant. He was always a go-getter. Uh, he was always somebody who will challenge everything which he meets. Whoever he meets and whoever comes in his life, he'll challenge himself. uh, as a manager, I always felt that there is always a thin line between a genius and a madman. And as a manager, my role, I always thought, was to keep the player on the right side of the line. And these guys who play for India are genius. And these guys, uh, if you actually see stats, probably less than 1,000 players have played cricket in any format across 70 plus years of our independence, and billion plus population. So it's not easy, and it is not normal to play for India. And normal people don't play for India. They are real genius. Imagine, last ball, 4 runs to get, billion people watching you on TV, 50,000 people in the stadium, and you have to hit a four. Or if a catch is coming to you, that billions are watching, and your heart rate has to be normal. You have to be cool. You have to be. It is not normal to be inside a stadium with 50,000 people watching you. So they are not normal, and they don't behave normal. So out of all the 30 players I have managed, I can say that there are 30 different individuals, all of them real genius. All of them have their own upbringing in life. All of them have their own experiences. All of them have their own thought process. Specifically, Virat was always, he was more passionate than others. He was more aggressive than others. He was more competitive than others. He was very clear that he wants to be the best in the world. Initially, he thought that he can enjoy while he travels his journey of greatness. But after getting into the Indian senior team, he realized that he has to sacrifice a lot of joy in life to be great sportsman. Virat, what he was and what he is today is completely different. He has matured from a brat to a man beautifully. I have never disturbed him after he left me in 2011-12, but I have always watched him, transition from a distance. Virat lost his father early, and his brother and his mother have been his great strength. His brother used to take care of his father's business and gave up his own dreams for Virat's dreams. The role of a father figure in his life was taken over by Mr. Rajkumar Sharma very, very effectively. My God, what a man, what a family. He took care of Virat as a son, and only person Virat was actually afraid of in life was his coach, Mr. Rajkumar Sharma. The best thing Virat has done in his life all through, I can say, that he never changed his anchor. Rajkumar Sharma was his coach in 2000, and he's when he was just a kid, and Rajkumar Sharma is his coach in 2022 when he's playing his 100th test. When when we do well in life, right, we first call our father or mother and try and share what we've done and take their reaction. Virat used to do the same thing just after the match. The first call goes to Rajkumar Sharma, and his the when he was fastest to 1,000, straight call and the happiness shared. Fastest to 2,000, fastest to 3,000, all these calls straight, to Mr. Sharma. I think he has a big role in Virat's being anchored and being grounded and still continuing. It is not easy to play for so many years with same fitness, same passion, same and with all this glamour which comes around you. Uh, Virat has been very color. He has used to have a very colorful life when he started, getting into the limelight. He was all over the place, and I remember when he got signed for IPL, and in Bangalore he used to be one party guy, and after that after the under 19 World Cup, and after he started to see this fame, he very quickly realized there are a lot of players I know who took a lot of time to realize that they need to become more serious, and they need to do far more than what they were doing to become great. And I think he did a fantastic job between 2008 to 2011 to actually be ahead of a lot of senior players and get selected in the 2011 World Cup team. In that team, I think Rohit was not there, and he was there. So that is the big achievement which he did, the great transformation he did. It was a great feeling to see him wear the jersey for the first time in Colombo. Uh, I was there all through with him, and the first time he wore the jersey, and he hugged me, and he said that time he told me he's going to play 100 tests. So it is it is a it is something which he knew, and he was so confident. It was at Taj Samudra, I remember, in his room. The jersey came, and he saw the jersey. There were tears in his eyes. He wore it, stood in front of the mirror, and he said, "Bhai, 100 test खेलना है."
So this is very interesting because he's just played his 100 test match. He starts the interview with the BCCI saying, "I never even thought I'll play one test match." So this is how he's matured, right? As a person, and as a cricketer. And very interesting, you speak about him calling Mr. Sharma and telling him about all this. I really hope those phone calls are going to become more and more frequent. Not asking for technical adjustments, but calling up his coach and telling him I've scored another double hundred, another triple hundred, and maybe even 400. Because we're really hoping that he gets those big runs again, and he gets that monkey of the 71st century off his back. But super interesting to hear about Virat. And I have another question for you. Of course, you managed him in the 2011 World Cup. Was he practicing that line that he said about Sachin Tendulkar throughout the World Cup, about how Sachin has carried the nation on his shoulders for 21 years, so we must carry him on our shoulders now? Because it was a perfect line to deliver at that point. But it seems a little unbelievable that it came up on the spot with that. So it sounds like pretty well rehearsed and delivered perfectly, of course, but maybe you have an insight on that.
No, I think he was good at this. So uh, it was then and there, and he thought about it, because they didn't know that they'll win the World Cup, and they didn't know that they'll carry Sachin Tendulkar on their shoulders. So it was, and he is good at that. I mean, I have I have always got good feedbacks on when he's interacted with people, and these one liners and these relevant one liners are something which he was always good at. And mm, I don't know, initially when when he started to get the limelight, he used to be a bit conscious. But after winning the World Cup and in 2008 Under-19 World Cup, he became a different human being altogether, because then his interaction with media, his interaction with people, his attention, everything just got changed. And with all these changes coming in, he changed himself, that I need to be and the big line in the Indian cricket, which most of the cricketers say, that I follow process, and every rest is all, these lines he started to pick up. And
Control
I
the
used to ask him,
controllables. We only control
yeah,
the controllables.
yes,
Process is important. Result is not important. It's all MS Dhoniisms. But
yeah.
anyway.
So these things were not him. So he started to pick up these things and started to implement these things actually in his life. The way he used to, he started practicing the way he used to. In fact, one day at a coaching academy uh, with my son, he told me that, oh, your son plays cricket. Do you wake him up in the morning to go to practice, or uh, he wakes you up in the morning to go to practice? I said, I wake him up. He said, then I doubt. Uh, if the day your son wakes you up to take him to the academy, he is a serious cricketer. And I think I've said this in many academies all across, that, a great player has, it has to come from within at a very young age. And these are the big things which I've done. And if I compare this guy with Ajinkya Rahane, complete different human being, uh, different individual. From day one, he was very God fearing, not an extrovert at all. uh, Actually, Ajinkya Rahane was supposed to debut before Virat Kohli. And I remember in Australia there was an India A game, and Ajinkya Rahane was playing ahead of him as an opener, and Virat was not playing the game. So first two games, Ajinkya got out at almost no score. And before the third game, Dilip Vengsarkar sir was the coach, was the selector, and he asked Virat, would you open? Uh, Virat had not opened till then. So he said, yes, I will open. And he went down and made 100 in that match. And just after that series, in Sri Lanka series, one of the openers was rested, and Virat got his opportunity, and rest is history.
And he scored 100 after 100 as an opener, if I remember.
Yes,
Was it a
yes.
Reebok bat that he used to have at that time?
No, he started with BDM.
He started with
His
BDM. Yeah,
Yes,
then
and
Nike,
then
then
Nike.
Reebok. Yeah.
So Nike, was with Nike for a long time. I remember the first Nike contract was for 10 lakhs a year, and for even to give a shoe, Nike used to take 2 weeks to approve the shoe. So that was the state at that point of time. And I remember 10 lakhs contract was a big contract for him. And you know he was so happy that he's got the biggest brand in sports, has made him his brand ambassador. And from 10 lakhs to, I think now it will be 10 crores a day. So he's done a great job.
Yeah, and of course you've also managed Ravichandran Ashwin, who's like he's probably a mix of the two personalities in a way. You've got Ajinkya Rahane on one side, very calm, very, as you said, God fearing. You've got Virat on the other side, who's aggressive, go getter, full of skill. Does Ashwin fall somewhere in the middle, because he's basically India's Mr. Cricket, right? He knows everything about cricket, lives and breathes the game. He's got a great YouTube channel as well, competing with Edges and Sledges. So I don't know whether we are their competitor, they are our competitor. But anyway, tell us a little bit about managing Ashwin, because he's the thinking cricketer. So how is it difficult? It's different managing Virat and Ajinkya. But is it different managing somebody like Ashwin as well, who's probably got his own views and quite strong views about things as a cricketer?
Yeah, I think what your perception is absolutely spot on. So I managed Ajinkya for more than 8 years. Ashwin also for 7-8 years. Uh, Ashwin has always been a guy. of his own. I mean, every day he had new ideas. So every day he'll come up and tell me, oh, why can't we do it like this? Uh, his confidence that he can pull off anything was from very beginning. Even before he's playing his first IPL game, he was very clear that he's not going to be normal. And he's an engineer. He actually brings engineering into cricket. He's supremely confident guy and someone who really loves his own self and always challenged himself. His most frequent question to me used to be, Atul bhai, what is this talk delivery everybody talks about? If I have to get a wicket, I have to outthink a batter. Sometimes I will win. Sometimes the batter will win. That is sports, right? Why everybody wants me to keep bowling this talk delivery? And I want to someday ask somebody, what is this talk delivery? If I'm a bowler and if the batsman is tipping out or if the batsman is leaving the crease, he's giving himself room, should I bowl the same thing? So it is a game between two minds. Sometimes the batter will win, sometime I will win. And all things, his carom ball, his leg spins, his flippers, and of course his off spin, always had changed projectiles. He will say, okay, I will deliver, I will change the projectile, I will change the way my ball grips the ground, I will change the revs, I will change the speed, I will change my action also. Sometimes he used to say, why I can't bowl left hand? Why in the same over I can't do this? So every time he had different things. I used to stop him. Okay, do one thing. Why don't you for this match you be conventional and let us see how it goes. Don't try too many things. And he will always come back and say, see, I have to in 6 balls I have to have 6 different things. And Ashwin did not believe in actually flamboyance, but he's always planning. He has created businesses for future. He loves to be the CEO of his businesses. He he has got his own academy, his own YouTube channel. He's got he's invested in many different companies, including IT companies. Uh, Sometimes he has told me how to do sports management. Why don't you do it like this? Why don't you? I mean, you will probably make more money here, less money there. Why are you doing? So he's actually a thinker and an engineer. You rightly put it.
He sounds like he's a chess player that's trapped in a cricketer's body because he's incredible that insight into Ravichandran Ashwin. But of course, you signed all of these players very young uh,
Yes.
in their careers. Now, talent scouting and talent spotting, that's almost now become an industry, and it obviously wasn't when you were involved with it. But how has changing of talent and scouting for talent changed, and how much has that been influenced by something like the Indian Premier League? Because of course you hear stories of John Wright scouting Jasprit Bumrah playing in a Maidan somewhere and saying we are going to sign this guy for Mumbai Indians. Now I think that's probably a one-off, but most franchises and most countries now have talent scouting systems where people go all over the world, go all over the country looking for the best talent. Because if you can discover a Varun Chakravarti or a Jasprit Bumrah and buy them for very low, you've got their services at an absolute bargain price for the first few years, right? So, talk to us about how talent scouting and finding talent has changed in the time you've been involved with cricket, please.
Sure. So when I started in 2005-6, uh, I used to employ coaches all across the states, and they were actually my talent spotters. They used to shortlist players, and then I used to go and see players playing in any live game. Not many domestic matches used to be live on TV, and therefore I have traveled all across India. I have watched matches in Agartala to Ranchi to Patna to Lucknow to Bangalore, Vizag, every place where domestic cricket is getting played. And I would have seen 1,000 young players to actually sign the 30. And after seeing the game, I used to have a 30-minute interaction with the player, and if possible, used to go and visit the player at home, so that I can find out the upbringing, the thought process, because if you're signing a player, you're signing a player for life, right? You need to understand what is the background of the player, and who are the people who are behind the player, and whether this player actually has the longevity to go and play for India. So after seeing all this, is to sign the player. I used to know what the brands look for when they sign a player, and therefore, obviously, looks used to be one factor. Factor on flamboyance, and factor on consistency. And I used to actually calculate, and I was good at that, how far this guy is away from making his debut. And I I never used to tell a player. I made one mistake once. I told Mandeep Singh's brother that in 2010-11 that he's 3 years away from his debut. And his brother did not speak to me for years after that. He said, how can you, my brother will play next year. How can you say that he has 3 years? Mandeep Singh made his T20I debut in 2016. So I was able to actually see, because there are factors, right? Who are the players who are currently playing, which slot you can fit in, which it is for you to get into the team. Somebody has to do not well for you to get to that spot, or somebody has to get injured, or something different has to happen for you to get. So there are a lot of factors which I used to see, and I used to map the longevity of the current players, and then look at how this team is going to change in the next 2-3 years. I did a lot of data analysis on the players before signing a player, and I used to sign players for every slot. So that's why I signed even Umesh Yadav and Praveen Kumar and these guys, because I wanted to prove that bowlers also can be sold, and bowlers also can create some endorsements, because it was always, endorsement always used to be a batsman paradise. Not many bowlers used to get advertisements. So now, scouting a talent for IPL and scouting a talent for player management are a bit different, but the process is more or less same. Now scouting is much more evolved than what it was. Every single IPL team has a scouting team. All IPL teams have more than 10 scouts each appointed, and they all see most of the games which are first class or list A games. For player management, sometimes you get a player from school, someone who has not even played for under 19 or state level. Like Mayank Agarwal, we picked up from the school itself. We knew that, from he used to play for Bishop Cottons, and the coach of Bishop Cottons was, somebody going in at a score of 30 and 150 to win, he'll finish off and come. He was very different at that point of time itself. So and because Parthiv Patel is a great friend, and he's also a scout for Mumbai Indians, we discuss a lot of aspects of current scouting and how it can be more effectively done. I think Mumbai Indians probably has the best scouting infrastructure, and I'm amazed the amount of interest Mr. Akash Ambani himself takes on scouting, shortlisting players and talent throughout the year. MI is one team who starts practicing when people are still thinking about IPL. So their camp starts even when people are thinking, okay, when is IPL going to happen? But their camp gets underway. That's that professional they are. So data and artificial intelligence can actually help in scouting in a big way. And data and artificial intelligence can also improve a player, can make decisive comparison between players. One of the reasons why I shifted my complete focus from sports management to develop technology in 2015-16, I mean, after having done all verticals in cricket, so I've done player management, sponsorship sales, ICC, league equipment sales. So the entire 360 degrees of cricket I knew. I knew almost everybody in cricket. So after having done all that, when my son used to go to a cricket academy, and when he used to come back every day, I used to ask him, so what did you do? He used to say batting, bowling, fielding. So I used to ask him next day, same question again. So he used to give the same answer. Fourth or fifth day, he got so irritated and he said, why don't you come to my academy? Then I realized that there are so many parents across the world who must be wondering what my kid is doing in the academy. And they have absolutely no way to know what the kid is doing until unless they go and see the kid play in the academy. Then I actually opened 3 academies in Bangalore. I started analyzing and speaking to parents. If I give you a wagon wheel every day of your kid playing, will it add value to that? Everybody used to say, wow, very good. And then I used to go to players and say, if I give you a smart bat and this bat is telling you from your backlift angle to bat speed to everything, will it be helpful to you? They used to say, wow. Then I went and met Alan Wilkins and I asked him, today you on broadcast, if I give you bat performance and the data from the bat, would you love it? He said, broadcasters will love it because as of now you say, what a bat speed, but there is no number. You say, this guy is what power, there is no number.
There's
So
no
the
speed
moment-
for the tracer bullet. That's the problem. It's
Yes.
gone to the boundary like a tracer bullet, but you want to measure
Yes.
the speed of the tracer bullet.
Yes. So you can actually start comparing this shot to that shot, and there's a lot of things which you can do. So he said, wow, amazing. Then I went and met Sachin, Saurav, Rahul Bhai, VVS Parthiv, Rohit, Mr. Rajkumar Sharma himself, Chris Gale, all these guys. I went and met them and asked them, if I do something like this, is it worth it? They said, wow, it is amazing. Why don't you do it? And then I actually took, this is all in for my life. I have put in more than 11 million pounds, created the first product, Bat Sense. Almost everything from what I have earned or learned is into this technology, because I believe if you give us today, if somebody gives you a dumb phone and a smartphone, even a kid will pick up a smartphone. So tomorrow, if I give you a dumb bat and a smart bat, you will always pick up a smart bat.
So tell us what you mean by a smart bat. Like, I know what a smartphone means because it has a chip in it and it does, like, I can go on to Twitter and I can tweet and I can go on to WhatsApp and I can send a message and I can find things, I can use maps, I can hook it up to things. But a smart bat, I mean, a bat is a piece of wood, right? Like,
Yes.
how does your bat become smart? Now, talk to us about the technology itself that you've developed. And there's a very exciting giveaway coming up at the end of this episode. So don't go anywhere. But Atul sir, talk to us about how do you make a block of wood, a piece of wood, which is also very advanced now. It's very different from when even I started playing cricket. The edge was about this big, and like they lift it up very, very heavy. Now all of that technology has changed. But how does it go from being a normal piece of wood to a smart piece of technology almost?
So when I studied the cricket equipment market, I realized that this industry is growing at the rate of 2% CAGR, and with the inflation of more than 5-6% at that point of time, the industry was actually degrowing. So I thought, why is this industry degrowing? And I realized that every year, the biggest change in technology in cricket is that the color of the sticker changes. So there is actually no value addition to any equipment. For the pads, the stitch gets zigzag or gets straight. but there is nothing which actually changes.
So
So the
I have to say, I actually went to, and I won't name them, but I went to one of the biggest bat manufacturers in the country. I went to their factory, and I saw some really lovely bats there, but there didn't seem to be an R&D wing that was doing any of that, right? So, and the factory itself, it was pretty basic, and it was hidden away and it was not in a big town, but yeah, it surprised me that most of the big players that you see on the big screen these days are using bats from these companies, and it it's just it's it's still quite basic, the technology, in a way. But please carry on.
Yes. So what I realize is that if say suppose a mad guy like me goes to a manufacturer, and I've been to all these factories uh, during my last 15 years, and I know all these owners, and I've gone and spoken to them, and I've asked them, okay, can I shake up this industry and can I make this double? How do I double this? Now, why will somebody give you a double price of the same bat? What value are you giving? Are you even thinking about it? Can you make this industry double? The only way you can do is by innovation. You have to add value. So you were getting X for this price, you're getting X plus this for this price plus this. So you have to, what value addition one can add. So the first product I created is this bat sensor. This sensor actually sits on top of the bat. It's just 25 grams, and it is actually a computer. It has got memory. It has got 8 hours of battery, which means that if you're not out from morning till the end of the play, it will keep recording. It will record every single shot which you play, and this can be connected to Bluetooth while you're practicing, and your coach, wherever your coach is in the world, can actually see your live analysis through cloud, or a broadcaster can get all this data in real time at the OB-WAN.
So the first thought that is coming to my mind when you've shown me this piece of technology, and for our listeners who are listening to this on the podcast version, please go and check out this piece of technology on YouTube. Is imagine having this during the 2001 partnership between Dravid and Lakshman against Shane Warne and Glenn McGrath, and you'll see that the bat is coming down at this angle and he's hitting Warne against the turn. He's hitting the same ball in two different places. It would be absolutely incredible to see that you got the wagon wheel, but what it didn't tell you is where the bat is coming down to be able to hit that, how he's picked the line, how he's moved his feet, where he's made contact with the ball. So that and 8 hours is enough, right? Even on a day like that where 8 hours of battery should have been enough to get all of that data collected up. But that is amazing. And what are the other parameters that it measures? You said, I think, backlift angle, bat speed. What else?
So it starts with backlift angle, and it gives you when your bat is coming down, is your bat face open or closed? Like, for example, Greem Smith always used to have a closed face, and if you see Mayank Agarwal is with an open face. So how is the batsman adjusting to the swing? You can actually analyze and see, with how is the bat coming down, then with what speed the bat is coming down, what is the speed on impact, what is the maximum speed the bat has attained in the entire swing, and it will give you the bat speed at any point of time of the swing and the follow through angle. So the coaches say that you should do 360 degree, your follow through should be proper. You can actually now see, and this renders into a 3D avatar. You can actually see this from any angle, whether your bat is doing a complete 360 degree, or from behind, whether your bat is coming from third slip, second slip, first slip, when your bat is coming down, it is. And when on impact, if your bat speed is maximum at impact, actually that is a well-timed shot, because your bat speed is maximum when you hit the ball. If your bat speed is maximum before the ball is connected, or after the ball is connected, you miss time.
And so it tells you the point of impact as well. And does it tell you
Yes.
where in the bat it's hit up, down, or does it not have that
No,
parameters?
this does not tell you where it exactly sits,
Hmm.
because this device is actually sitting on the handle,
On the handle.
on
Okay.
top of the handle. Now,
Right.
from the handle, we are getting all these parameters. If you want to know where the ball is hitting the bat, you will actually have to put the sensor on the bat,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
is not allowed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Because you'd be. Yeah.
no foreign element can actually be put at the back of the bat or the face of the bat,
Yeah.
or anywhere. I took 6 months to decide where to put on the bat,
In accordance with the
because
regulations and the
yes,
ICC and the
yes,
MCC laws and everything. Yeah.
yes. And then after I got approval, that top of the bat actually is very helpful, because see, when you do dumbbells, you actually do dumbbells, when you can feel the weight, but you must have seen, people carrying weight on their head, because you don't feel the weight here. The weights is distributed in the body, so therefore you don't feel the weight. And that's the fundamental of putting this on top of the handle. The other thing which it does is that it gives you the counterbalance. You must have seen a lot of players put tape on at the edge of the handle. They actually make the bat counterbalance, because these days you are actually belting. So when you're belting, your hand should not come out, and there should be counterbalance, when you're hitting the ball for long boundaries. So
Yeah.
that also is the advantage with the device.
Yeah.
Now what we did, and so I would have done more than 1100, 1200 demos to individuals by now, and all I have seen is wow. This is something which is giving me a lot of data, and we showcased the broadcast solution, which was not easy to do. We failed twice, maybe thrice, doing it. And we were very, very BCCI had been very, very helpful to give us the opportunity to test it during live games. So the first testing we did was India women's team was playing versus Indian Australian team at CCI in Mumbai, and we failed. We didn't get one ball data also, and we realized that when the live broadcast starts, there is so much of interferences on the pitch, because there are cameras focusing there. There are so many gadgets all around. There is so much of frequency, radio frequency there, that your Bluetooth range from 8 meters becomes not even 1 meter.
So what was that? So that wasn't the first time where it was successfully used in an international match. When was this actually? Has this actually been successful? It has been successfully used in an
Yes.
international match, and
Yes.
when was that? When did that take place?
So it was before this one which I was talking about. This is 2018, but in 2017 it was used in Champions Trophy, and it was used by all players. So the top 5 players of every team, almost every team, used to play with the sensors, and we used to get data live on live TV with different stories coming up. Uh, but that 2017 solution was very, very expensive. It was almost $1 million to get the data from the bat to the OB van and then to the broadcast. Uh, this was So we actually made network stacks all around the stadium, and we lots and lots of compute power was put in, and the the power to get the data was put in to get. It was almost $1 million per stadium. What solution now we have now? We that $1 million, we've been able to do it in less than $50,000.
Okay, and so it's effectively, and I'm not an engineer, I'm a lawyer by my profession, but is it effectively a very strong Bluetooth connection or a Wi-Fi upload that you're doing to get the data from the bat in the middle? Of course, you've got to go 80 yards or 90 yards or whatever to a van outside, and then in real time translate that into television broadcast with some analysis, which seems like quite a lot to do, but you have things like Snicko, you have things like Hotspot. So I'm assuming you've worked out a technological. Of course, you can't disclose it because it's your proprietary information, but it sounds like the technology is now working and it's almost better, more efficient to use. It's at a fraction of what it used to be at in 2017. So are we looking? I guess my question is, are we going to see BatSense once again make a comeback 5 years down the line as becoming one of the things that we see regularly and on the TV? We see you've got DRS and you've got Virat screaming into stump mic. So maybe this is an addition to that universe of things. And is it coming soon?
So not 5 years. You already have it. So we did our first new technology broadcast in the T10 League, Abu Dhabi T10 League. Then back to back we did with Bangladesh T20 League, and we've now got more than 100 players who played on live TV with the device. We've got more than 4,000 shots of these players playing, and we have 10,000 people playing with this device all across the world, and we've got 4 million shots captured so far. So this is up and running.
The future is here.
Yeah, and the biggest thing which we have done is that we have utilized what currently exists, which means that we have actually utilized the stumps and we have made stumps the antennas.
That makes sense. I mean, you guys are the engineers, right?
So the center
Super.
stump is a busy stump because there is a stump camera and the microphone. The two stumps next to it currently were dumb stumps. We make these stumps smart. Both sides. Now any device, so we currently have the bat. We will soon have the ball, shoe sensor, helmet sensor. So the helmet sensor is something which is going to be very, very unique. The helmets, all helmets have this what we call as SOPA band, where you have most sweat on your forehead and it absorbs your sweat. From there, we are going to do sweat analysis, and you will on live the physio or the nutritionist will get live data of what salt or mineral in your body is getting reduced, and when you get the next drinks break, you exactly get what your body needs.
Wow.
And from your hair on your head, on your forehead, you can actually get the pulse. So imagine four runs to get last ball, Rohit Sharma on strike, his heartbeat, you can see on live TV.
Wow.
And when somebody gets hit on the helmet, it will calculate with what G force it has been hit, and it will immediately calculate whether this G force with which this has got hit is more than the tested G force or less than the tested G force. If it is more than the tested G force, there will be a red light, which means that you have to change the helmet. And if it is green, you can continue. But the physio will get data of every time a player gets hit on the helmet will be recorded on his profile, and for his entire life, how many times he has got hit with what G force can be put, in for BCCI. They will know that from this age to this age, this player has got hit on the head by a ball of what force, how many times. So when the doctors are treating any player at any point of time, they can have a look and do their assessment.
Incredible. And I mean, of course, that will help with things like concussion tests and figuring
Yes.
out whether players were willing and able to continue. I think, honestly, like, it's a shame that Rahul Dravid is retired, but at least he's in the coaching setup. I mean, the sweat analysis on Rahul Dravid would have been absolutely perfect. He used to just sweat buckets when he was out there, but that's brilliant. Even bat sense, someone like a Prithvi Shaw, for example, he was going through a lot of trouble in Australia when he was there, out there. Mitch Stark was going through him in the first test match at Adelaide for fun. But the angle of the bat that he was picking up, even for a layman, you could see it was coming out in the wrong angle. But he went back and did the work with his coach. But if he had this tool, he would know immediately what the issue is. So it sounds absolutely fascinating. And you, as the listener, actually have a chance to win one of these bat sensors. It's called BatSense. All you have to do is to write in at one tip, one hand, tagging Smart Cricket, so at the rate Smart Cricket, with the answer to the following question, right? Tell us when this technology was first successfully used in an international ICC tournament. Tell us the name of the tournament, right? The ICC tournament in which the BatSense technology was successfully used. Tag Smart Cricket and use the hashtag the BatSense advantage. So these are the things you need to do. Answer the question, which ICC tournament was the BatSense technology first used at? Tag Smart Cricket and one tip, one hand, and use the hashtag the BatSense advantage, okay? So please write in with the answer to the question. Of course, the hint is that you've already heard where it was used. So hopefully you've paid attention during the podcast. If not, please go back and listen to it again and answer the question. But Atul sir, it has been a pleasure speaking to you on this week's episode. It sounds absolutely fascinating. I'm really looking forward to trying this out in one of my games this season. It sounds like it's a really useful tool, which I'm not sure will really affect my game because I'm not good enough to understand all the parameters. But it sounds like anybody who wants information about their game can get it from this and improve their game. I'm probably a hopeless cause, but I'm looking forward to improving my game and maybe scoring some runs this season with the use of the BatSense technology. So thank you for developing that, and thank you for your time on this week's podcast. Any final words from you?
Thank you so much. I just want to tell you that, when you see your own batting, when you start using this, it is so easy. You don't have to learn anything to start using this technology. It is simple. It will start telling you what you're doing. You can start comparing your shot with anybody's shot. You can actually see just the information, how many balls you played today, how many on the onside, how many in the air, how many on ground. That itself as a starter a good enough information to have. Currently you have no information while batting. So it's a simple technology, and what we're trying to do going forward is to create very simple tools. And for sure, it is my life's motto to make every single equipment smart, starting with cricket. But because I have done batting, I have done 360-degree motion, and my 5 years of R&D has given me wherewithal to easily do golf, easily do baseball, easily do boxing. And imagine, the shoe sensor when it comes in and it is telling the bowler that whether you are running more on your right leg or left leg, when you are jumping, what is your jump height, with what pressure you are landing, how much your leg is moving inside your shoe, what is the pressure on the knees, how all this is going to transform even injury management. And in the end, I would like to tell you that we are not a sensor company. We are actually a data company. Imagine all this data coming in back to us, and we throwing analytics back to everyone. We can actually predict and tell the bowler, next over you bowl, you will get injured. So that is the power of this technology. And thank you so much for having me on your podcast. Really appreciate it.
It's been a great conversation. Remember to follow smartcricket.com at the rate smartcricket19 on Twitter. And so, yeah, that is the interview with the founder of smartcricket.com. And thank you all for joining us. This is, of course, the One Tip, One Hand. This is, of course, the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at One Tip, One Hand, and write into us at contact@onetiponehand.com. Please do enter the giveaway. The 3 things you have to do is answer the question, tag at the rate smartcricket19, tag One Tip, One Hand, and use the hashtag the BatSense advantage. That's it for the week, guys. Thank you very much.
IVM